Cheers, everybody. Good morning. I am embarking on a bit of a reading challenge for myself today. The focus for the last week and moving forward is going to be the Women's Prize long list. I have just a whack stack ton of library books that I need to get through. And the problem with library books is there is an expiration date on when I can read them, which means the books that I have sitting on my shelf that I haven't read, which aren't many, tend to just consistently get put on the back burner. Well, this week is the Backlist Readathon hosted by Jackie and Beth, and it was my intention to participate as much as I could. And I've kind of been able to, but not really, again, because I've been reading some of the Women's Prize long list. This book, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, has been sitting on my shelf for months unread, and I thought the Backlist Readathon week is the perfect week to get this finally read. And then the week has now progressed. It is Tuesday and I haven't picked it up. So the goal today is to read this book. Now, it is a big book. It's only 559 pages, but like the font is biblically small. So I feel like it could actually be an 800-page book if the font was just a teeny tiny bit bigger. And I want to read this as a challenge to myself. I'm wondering if I can read it in a day. The plan was to get started on this vlog at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it is now 9. So I'm not sure it's actually going to get read before I go to bed tonight, but I figure 24 hours maybe. The goal is still going to be to try to read as much of it today as possible, but 24 hours, I guess, would kind of be my cutoff. We'll see how that goes. I am possibly going to talk about spoilers in this vlog, but I will put like a spoiler somewhere on the screen so you know, because this book is quite old. I'm not too concerned. It's from 1992. I'm not too concerned about spoilers. However, for me, myself, I have absolutely no idea what this book is about. All I know is the peeps that love the dark academia. This is, you know, the original dark academia book, apparently. I don't even know what dark academia really means. I think it just means, I guess, like, it's kind of a sinister story with an academic environment. Like, that's where the setting takes place. So we'll see. But I've got my book. I've got my coffee. I've got you guys. Let's get this going. And hopefully we'll have a good time. I have made it to chapter 5, or 172 pages in, and so far I am really enjoying this. Way more than I thought it would. I thought it would be a decent book, but I'm like loving it. So you're following Richard, who has come to this small little college university in Hampstead. Is that where it is? Anyways, on the East Coast. He is from California. And he finds out about this Greek class that he wants to take because he had previously studied Greek before, but this professor only accepts, he has 5 students. Fast forward a little bit, eventually gets accepted into this group. And as you see in a lot of these things, it's a very small little group, very isolated from the rest of the school. And you know that while they appear to be close, there's definitely some friction. And I've just gotten to the point as to why there is particular friction with one member of the group, and it is just being done really well. It's so funny how I have definitely seen this story told before, but hadn't realized where it came from, and I don't know if this is the original or whatever, but it is fascinating to see how much of this book has been taken and reproduced in other works in different ways over time without me realizing that there is this piece of work that it's possibly based on. I find that to be really fascinating. The writing is really, really great. I'm enjoying the characters. I'm enjoying the main character. He isn't necessarily like the good guy, I don't think, but he is interesting and intriguing. Now, what I do want to know is how in the world I have no idea where the story is going to go, and there's still 400 pages or something like that. Whereas I feel like normally in this type of plot, the book is wrapping up, you know, here. Like, there's that much left, but instead I have this much left to go. So I'm really, really curious about it. But like I said, I'm having a really great time, and it is 11:38, and I've read 170 something pages. I don't know, I feel like I should get it done. I feel like my goal should be, there is a Colorado Avalanche game on tonight that starts at 6 that I would really love to watch. So maybe my goal should be to try to finish this in time to watch that. Although I do also want to work out, and I have to make dinner at some point, which is going to take a little bit of time. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. So does anybody know, like, the premise of this story with this theme? Is there something that Donna Tartt based her book on? Like, does this go back even further, this sort of academic setting with this undertone of thriller vibes, I guess? I have no idea, but if you know, please tell me. I would love to know. And I'm going to continue reading, and I will update you when I have more to say. On to part 2. I'm still having a lovely time. How many pages is that? I am in 275 pages in or so. And part 1 ends kind of where the prologue begins, which, so we're kind of now getting into new territory where you don't really know what's happened. You don't know what you're building up to anymore. What I do find interesting is the back of the book talks about how under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, and I'm wondering if that professor starts to play a bigger role, because he has been a very minor character so far, but yet he has the first sentence of the synopsis belongs to him. And while yes, I can see where their teaching kind of was the catalyst for some of the stuff that's happened, the professor himself has played a pretty minor role. And there's been a couple of little side moments where you think the professor has a bigger hand in what's going on than you're being told as the reader, but nothing has come from that yet. So I'm wondering if in the second half we're going to get a little bit more of what the professor's role has been in this, because like I said, apparently he's supposed to have really influenced it, but you don't really see it at this moment in time. Anyways, the big moment happened. I know I said I might do spoilers, but I'm trying to kind of stay away from spoilers, because while this book is old, I know some people have still not read it. I am one of those people, so I'm trying to keep it as broad as possible. Anyways, I am enjoying the book. I'm about to move on to part 2. I'm going to make myself a drink in a little bit here, because the afternoon nap want is hard right now. I don't know how long everybody struggles after losing an hour of sleep, which is the stupidest thing on the planet, but it takes a couple days for me to adapt, and like, oh my goodness, I'm at that moment where I feel like I could close my eyes and be asleep in about 10 seconds. So definitely gonna have to have a drink, because I still have half this book to go, and I think it's 1:30. Not a lot of time to get it done. Things are really starting to ramp up. We are fully into the more investigative part of the story, where they're trying to find out, like, the FBI is involved, and the police are involved, and the school administration is involved, and they're trying to sort out what has happened, and it's getting really good. What am I going to do? I am going to make a hot chocolate. Make a hot chocolate cocoa. I actually have an unopened pack of peppermint. So we're going to do peppermint hot chocolate. A little bit of maple syrup, almond milk. And I'm going to keep on reading this book. I am so surprised with how much I'm liking this. And I think it's because it's obviously a story that we've all read before, or most of us have read before, this idea of kind of a more elite or a more like a special group of students at a school who are kind of getting a little bit of special treatment, and they're wealthy, and there's this air of mystery around them, and you just want to know what their lives are like. we've read that story before, but knowing that this one is such an iconic book, and it's a modern classic or a contemporary classic, however you want to categorize it, and just knowing that it has stood the test of time in terms of literary works and people still loving it decades later, I think there's just something about the way it's been written where you can see why people have loved and wanted to recreate the story, but understanding that you can't really do it to the same level that Donna Tartt has been able to do it. It's so well written, and the atmosphere is so good. I mean, it's a 560-page book, and I am flying through it. I have not been bored for 1 second. I'm so fascinated, and I'm on the edge of my seat about what's going to happen. And it's crazy because I feel like in a lot of thrillers and even dark academia, and I don't have a ton of experience in dark academia, you can kind of see where the story is going to go. And I actually am not totally sure where this one is headed with the main character and then the people around him. There are kind of 4, Francis, Henry, Camilla, and Charles are kind of the 4 other characters that are surrounding him right now. And I just don't know what to expect. I don't know if somebody else is going to die. I don't know if somebody's going to take the fall for what happened. I'm so curious to know what's going to go on, and I'm just really enjoying such incredible writing in a literary thriller way that people love. And I'm reading, what is it, 2002, 2012? It's been out for 32 years. This book is 32 years old, and it's still super interesting, and it's not so dated. There's nothing in it that is so dated that you can't still appreciate what's happening, except it is funny that they have to go to the payphones. I find that to be really amusing. Anyways, I'm having a really good time, and I'm so glad that I was finally able to pick this up and take the day to read a book that's been on my TBR for forever, and I will get back to the newer releases and all that jazz soon. But it just makes me want to read more Backlist books because I've been really enjoying them. I just finished the Poisonwood Bible, which was published, I don't know, early 2000s. I can't remember when. It was spectacular. I read the debut novel from one of my favorites, Patrick DeWitt, last month. I've talked about it. It was really good. There's just something about finding books that can stand the test of time and reading them and understanding the quality of the writing. I absolutely love it. Anyways, let's finish this hot chocolate and finish up on this book. Done. I absolutely loved it. The book is spectacular, and I absolutely understand why it is considered like a contemporary or a modern classic. So good. Page turner. I don't know, it took me 7.5 hours to read this, and I'd say that's a pretty decent speed for a book of this size and the font that small. I think the story wraps up really well. I think it ends on an interesting note. I didn't see it coming necessarily. I thought maybe that there would be some more deaths and stuff, but the way everything wraps itself up, I thought was done really, really well. And it reminded me of a book that I tried to read earlier this year that I can't remember the name of, but it was the same premise, but it was about a girl that some people have really loved, and I couldn't stand it. So I am so happy to see a book that has this plot work for me, and now I don't know how any other one is going to stack up because this was absolutely brilliant. I think the characters were spectacular. I think the story was done really well. I think the tension was really great. The thriller portion of it was done really well. I think that every portion, like the the crime portion, the investigation portion, and then kind of the post-investigation portion of the book were all done so well, and somehow every part of it you still wanted to just keep reading. Nothing ever got boring or tired or done. Nothing was too repetitive. Absolutely brilliant. I am so thrilled to finally have read this book. And it being 4:30, I have time to make some dinner and work out and get to my hockey game at 6 o'clock. So thank you very much for joining me. If you are here and you haven't, I would love it if you would push the like or the subscribe button. It actually does a lot and helps me out quite a bit, and I greatly appreciate it. I will see everybody in the next one. Bye.